build paths are going to be. It would be nice if there would also be places where it would be reasonable for someone to unpack the source directly, the source package while debugging. And
so that's why my proposal was usr/src/debian/hello-2.9. Because when you go to you do cd usr/src debian apt-get source hello, and you get that.
Needs the full version number, maybe.
Well, that's not what apt-get source code gets you.
Right. So right now, yeah.
But we might want.
Yeah.
This is why that was my suggestion. But actually, it's true that if we want the debug info to be useful regarding the sources, it's better to have the version, the Debian package revision in there. Because patches.
Such a build
And
path.
binary NMUs.
Well, they have the same source.
They should, yes. Some packages are.
So, this would just to say one thing. This would get us on par with Fedora.
Yeah, where's Fedora? Because I thought Fedora RPM build has predictable build paths.
So.
Kinda.
They use debug edit and all sort of things, but it's usr/src package name dash version.
Oh, okay.
Let's do that.
Can we? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that this also has other things about it that are useful, like build depending on a source package,
Yeah.
which we kind of need for
Eventually, yes. We
things
want
that
it.
currently depend on dash source binary packages. So, yeah.
Where do dash source binary packages? Do we have a canonical answer for that right now? Where they put their stuff? Or is that kind of?
I think it's use a source. I'd have to check, but some could go. GCC dash source. No, GCC. No, unitils dash source. Try that.
I know that Linux source. Well,
Linux source.
Well, Linux source is a bit different because that installs tarball.
Yeah, and GCC source install a tarball. I think the utils is unpacked.
Okay.
Maybe it's tarball these days again.
So anyway, it sounds like there's a range of things that are happening right now.
So that doesn't just install the tarball, it also installs the RT patch, a signal patch for that, and it installs all the configs.
So a canonical build path would standardize these dash source packages and enable build depending on them.
I think it would be a mistake for us to try to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as
If we say this is what the reproducible builds are going to see,
Yeah.
fine. And then if people ever want to
long as we can
normalize their
reuse
stuff to
that.
that, fine.
But it would
But
be
I don't think
useful
we
to
want to
say,
make this a
we
requirement.
discussed it at that
Right.
conf and all agreed.
Well, it would be useful, but there's always going to be differences, right? I mean,
Should the build path actually include Debian, or should it include a single?
What does
generic?
Fedora, do they have distro name in them?
Well, typically RPMs, they have the vendor suffix and the version number, such that if the version number is full, it will have like something for Fedora and then RHEL for Red Hat and blah, blah, blah.
it does occur to me that is it going to be okay to put tildes in there?
We'll find barbacks, but that's fine.
Colons?
Yeah. Spaces, we don't allow them.
We're not going to have spaces. That one we're going to allow.
Okay.
Research.
Okay, let's say we include the package revision number. And
So what's in the contents of that? Is that the unpacked thing or the DSC and everything else?
Well, under hello 3.12-1, after that, I believe there is /Debian/rules, which is executed to do the build.
So it's
Right.
unpacked. Okay.
Because, yeah, if you point Debian rules, it's ambiguous, yeah.
That makes sense.
so the latest patch I have against dpkg build package will actually so it has a test and it bails out if you're not in the close to that directory, or if you have proot installed, it will like fire up proot automatically and run the build in an environment that simulates that you are in that directory.
So this is something that, this is a patch that we can push into a git build package or a dpackage build package. And it'll just take advantage of it. If it's
Yes.
there.
Or like a config option to enable it. And enable it by default.
That sounds good to me. I would support that. I mean, if we find out that it breaks some, like, yeah, if we find out that it breaks some build, then
I mean, eventually we'll have to get it into build DDS build, right?
So I have a patch, I have an untested patch against sbuild that will make sbuild use that directory, I guess. Not look at people data.
But you're just saying it was not necessary. I mean, if it's like a package with package double, that does not need special care in S group because it just
Well,
runs
it depends on, what did you say it depends on?
P-root.
P-root.
You want to probably run without
P-trace.
So just one thing, P-root is very limited because it uses P-trace, and P-trace
right.
is not available on all architectures.
And
also there's only
and
one
Upstart will
P-trace.
fail to build if it's under a P-trace.
Maybe, and also it will like really slow down, I mean,
Yeah.
not really, but it will slow down the build. It interrupts like, in a sense, every call. Come on.
Join the
I have a
circle.
question, which is it okay if I eat while y'all are, yeah, no,
Join the
I don't
circle.
make too much noise.
did you bring enough to share?
depends how hungry I was. Thank you.
Okay. So that's one thing that is great.
Is there a patch in the BTS too?
No, this for DB, no. So the patches I've not push any packet any patches to dpkg for a while because I have this because I wanted to have a lot of strength before going to Glem or with all my little shoulder and being told no. Because that's, I mean, so the way that I understood Glem work for dpkg is basically that you submit a patch and that's a wish list. And he rewrites your patch and then it gets into dpkg if he's interested in the idea. That's how I've seen things work. So I wanted to have huge number to present to say, okay, this is not a dream, this is something that can happen, but we need to modify dpkg, so here's the patch.
Well, you're not modifying the package, you're modifying that build, which is dev type of stuff.
But that's the same source package. So.
Yeah, it is under Glem's.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like we should get those bug reports submitted to the BTS, just so that the discussion is out in the open. And if he ends up being obstinate about it, then we say, hey, please,
Rewrite it for us.
yeah, and probably say it would be good if it was not just Unar following up on the patches. Like if we make it clear that there are several people who want this, and if the patches are not acceptable for some reason, then PM should figure out some patches that are applicable. But I'd say we should get the bugs submitted so that it's a public discussion.
So the other patch against dpkg that has not been submitted so that's one that is like completely unambiguously can be applied. Is the one that sorts the file in the .dev archives. That one is, I believe, not contentious at all.
I mean, we started to sort MD5 sums
Yes.
such that they div better.
So yes, same kind of
Yeah.
things. So there's another patch which so tar has a -n time option, which will have, so all members of the archive, they will have the same n time. And so how it works right now with the experiment we've done is that at the beginning of the build, it gets the time, and then use the same n time everywhere. But if the dev build timestamp environment variable is set, then it will reuse the same timestamp. That it will put that timestamp into the tar n time option.
Why do we not just want this to be always done?
like based on, say, Debian changelog type?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would always use the timestamp of the changelog, of the last changelog entry?
Yes.
Of the timestamp of the source
Yeah.
package, which
Yeah.
you would say is
Which
in
has
the
been
DC,
intimately
is
signed.
it in the DC?
Or shall we use the time of the signature of the DSC?
No, that's too late.
Too late?
Yeah.
Because you only sign that after it's built, usually.
Oh, you mean signing the Debian.tar.gz as well?
No, that's.
It's too late because it's not signed during the build.
Well, you build the source package first, and then
We-
you build the binder.
so we need to.
Depends
we
on
need,
the situation.
Yeah, we need an option that works with minus dpkg build package. I'm not going to build this whole thing.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
So
I would think it's the entry of the changelog.
the last entry
Yeah.
of the changelog is meaningful.
So this is a patch
Okay.
to depackage or a patch to tar? Because tar
dpkg
works.
dash source. Dpkg dash no. Well, want something in dpkg, but it's really close to the patch that I already have.
Build there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Build Deb, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the package build Deb.
Depackage.
Build Deb.
I don't know, but it's
Well, DH build Deb.
it's already half written. It's only like so right now I'm using like time to get the initial timestamp, so it would be just passing the Debian changelog, and
Yeah.
so it's but I'd rather not do that in C though. Well, maybe
Isn't
it
it
does already
Perl
something.
stuff?
We'll see. We'll see.
I think the Deb package stuff, Deb stuff is Perl, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was pro.
No, not all of it.
Okay.
dpkg build package is, but the thing that builds the actual .deb is not.
Maybe Deb tells me.
Well, maybe
Package Deb.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm willing to follow up on that patch and change what I've already written because I know it right now and do that.
Would you plan to pass that changelog value through as an environment variable? Or just have the package Deb calculator itself?
No, it would be the last entry of the changelog. So
Right.
It wouldn't need to be present during the, like, this is for source build, right? This is not for mine, or this
No, this
is
is
source
for
build.
binary.
But it doesn't need to be present during the actual build process.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
It does, because you're building a Deb.
So what happens is that when you build a deb, you need to fetch the version.
So how?
Right. Where do you find the versions? That's in Debian/changelog. So what we're saying is that we're going to take the timestamp in the very same place.
But
It's
the
the
execution
execution part.
doesn't depend on this. The dev doesn't depend on being running it from the particular directory, because you can pack up this directory and could pack up this directory of into the data.tar and this into the control, and there's no assumption that you're in the top level of the source directory when you run it.
Oh. But we can have dpkg build package pass that as an environment variable. Is that reasonable? Because that's close to what I already have. So.
Do you
Do
want
you want me to take
to
notes about
export that? Do you want to export that environment variable to Debian rules also? Do you need it?
They would be.
It would be.
Yeah.
Can Debian, is it okay for Debian rules to rely on that environment variable being present?
Your
You
call.
can already trivially get it with task change.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Um,
So, so the timestamp stuff, right, this is one place where the timestamps show up. And all of the, yeah, there are many other places.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I really want to focus this discussion on the framework first.
Okay.
Because if the .deb files themselves are not reproducible, then what's inside is
Right.
less meaningful.
I remember there was a conversation a year ago about the timestamp in the R archive on the outside. Did that get resolved?
So that's okay. So that's one of the things that was during the experiment we built in Utsels. We've minus enable deterministic archives, which actually make the option that you just showed the default one.
But with that, but we could also just be passing that to R. Right?
That means changing a lot of places.
Debug doesn't, I thought debug didn't use AR. Yeah, so
No, that's LD use IR. GCC use AR.
yeah, right. Sorry,
Yeah.
So we
But I meant something
switch
about
bin
the packages.
utils.
No, the package no.
So you're
Right.
saying switch the default option in bin utils.
So we convince Docker to switch the option in bin utils.
Can anybody think about anything would break if you like?
I don't understand why it isn't a default.
Can anybody not think
What's the difference between the two modes? Like, what's non-deterministic about it?
So when adding file in the archive index, use 0 for, it will use 0 for UID, GID, timestamps, and use consistent file modes for all files.
Oh,
So if you do that and people are doing backups, they're going to be pissed.
Right, so if you're using,
No. I don't know how to do
doesn't
it.
make support doing, make supports having dependencies on members of AR archives, that would mean that, so that will depend on the timestamps there being what it is.
So you think we can't turn that on by default because of
that
that?
one's break.
it'll break, makes timestamp tracking.
I mean, it's a horrible, it's a whole thing. I hope there's use that might be more, because it doesn't work with parallel builds, for example. But it is.
Can we, sorry, focus a little bit?
I was trying to make it so I could read it.
Yeah.
Is there
So
an
that's
environment variable we can?
so that's not a good
turn it
use
off?
if we can't.
What about an environment variable? That should help.
Well, that would mean hashing bin install.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe.
But then you have the same problem that we're building, we're running, presumably, is the intent for deterministic builds to be applied, applicable to all packages in Debian? Because if that's the case, then we have some of these packages are going to be using as part of the host system. Makes support for updating non-packages as if they were files.
So you can always use the opposite options. It's available.
Yeah, you can pass U or pass D to
Lowercase d, I believe.
No, it's upper.
big D and big U are the two options.
Okay.
So, can we change whatever part calls R to pass D
But
to R?
But it sounds like we're talking about two separate uses of R here. One is in building the Debian binary package,
Yeah.
where it sounds like
No,
R
that's
is,
R is not used.
and one is in building actual libraries, where it is possible that the makefile timestamp tracking feature is in use in the build process of those actual libraries, and so we can't change it there.
But I believe these are
We can
connected.
change it there.
Okay.
But so the other question is, can we write an R processor that strips?
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, put that in developer.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I mean, it's all about like
That's-
unpacking one R and giving the other like the capital options to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stripping R and GZ, right? Because there was this other thing about can we strip the
Timestamp.
yeah.
I have to remark about that. I spent a little bit of time last night working with Drew Fisher, I think is his name, on Datadoc comments.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Drew and I spent a moment yesterday working on Datadoc comments and trying to thread the command for Datadoc that disables storing the timestamps through the Maven so on chain to Datadoc. And TLDR is an enormous pain, and I've concluded that it's not worth bothering, and stripping stuff is probably better.
Should we have a DH strip non-deterministic things and we push
Yeah,
everything there.
That
That's
sounds great
one
to me.
option.
Strip non-determinism.
It seems like it would result in a faster
Non-DR.
Or
result.
remove non-determinism.
DH determinize.
Yeah. That would result in a result sooner.
Yeah.
Like than going through all the threads of build systems.
Now I totally agree with that.
Having spent the time already to try to do it.
But it would be cool to also get all of those things.
Yeah, but you know what? This would also be a place to collect all of those things. Right? The
Yeah.
source code for this would be a place to collect
A to-do list of
a to-do list. Yeah,
I-
and you could say, oh, this is a Java doc file. Let's go fix Java doc.
And then we get
Is it better for them to go in one task like this, or in the respective like DH Java helper?
We already have like
the other one's DH Python.
we already have DH fixed permissions, which is along the same lines. So
I think it's separate.
I think it should be global because, for instance, Java uses jar, which is just zip, and so everyone who uses zip format would benefit from making that non-deterministic instead of making it Java specific.
I agree with that
So
one.
does,
But like to construct the arguments that produce the jar itself is something that is only known to the.
sure, so you
So
build the
each
jar,
jar-
and then you do a second pass on the jar to clean it up.
So,
Oh, okay. So cleanup.
But it's also possible, right, that some packages will have files in them that are weird, nested, crazy shit that we don't know what to do with.
Jar
And
is
so,
inside jar.
Yes.
so this command, this
We can
DH strip non-determinism probably needs to look in the Debian directory and say, oh, this file is processed differently with this different.
Well, if package, fringe packages can do fringe things.
Yeah.
That's the flexibility of the Debian rules. But we need to, if we have solution for 95% or 99%.
And Helper even has a mechanism for package build systems to say, I want to handle this particular thing differently.
Yeah.
So we can make strict non-deterministic a phase that, DH Python or whatever it is knows how to overlook.
Great. Yeah. I've also AR and zip and Java. Good. That was inside. To get back outside, if that's okay. One question that is not solved yet is where do we record the build environment? Michael is inside the dot changes. But for example, I had a couple of email exchanges with the author of a package called DH build info, which basically does the job we want. It records the build environment, all the packages,
but it's still
and the version.
in the dev.
But currently it's all in the dev. But he also told me like, yeah, we'd like to have this actually, it should be done at the DPKG level. But he was arguing that the file he was producing should be a separate file.
Like next to the changes file.
Next to the changes file, maybe. I was,
What's the trade-off?
yeah, that's what I,
Will the archive track files next to the changes file? Where do they go in the archive?
But now they get thrown out as
Yeah,
DKG.
I just tried to do that. They get thrown away.
Yeah.
Of rejection.
Yes, less than a and rejection.
Yeah.
Determinism.tar.bz inside of that.
That's not
That
crazy.
tar.gz.
Whatever.
Well, so there's the AR,
Next to the
top level
data.
has data.tar.gz and control.tar.gz. You have build info.tar.gz.
that's, no, because you do a build of multiple binaries from the same source. So it's making information.
Yeah, it's a source package thing.
The good thing with using dot changes,
No,
No, it's a binary. It's an
Is
art.
it source or
it's
is
a
it
build thing,
It's a
which is the change file.
But it's going to associate with each architecture that it builds on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the answer
Yeah.
today is going to be different on the different build piece.
I think it belongs better in the binary package than elsewhere, although it's not clear if the binary package is the right place.
one of the good things
I
with
think
dot,
separate to the change file now. Because you have
This changes.
because the change file should be no.
one good thing with the changes file is that we have free to add X dash things. So we can experiment without asking many more people, which is
Try
good.
that first.
Otherwise, we need to change that. That was one good thing.
Cannot currently get at the changes by public key, right?
But we need so
We need that.
That needs to be fixed.
in many cases we need to change back to get the changes file kept.
What do we do? What are we going to record?
My tech would be all installed packages in their version. That's the easiest way.
All installed packages.
I believe DH build info is actually smarter, and maybe it's just about reusing the code. It's all the build depends and the dependencies.
And build essential.
Maybe.
Because you know we have a built, already have a built using well, that's mostly meant for recording things that where some code from that other package gets copied in, and then that's the source of the other package or
Yeah, my understanding is that we don't want to use that because
yeah,
it was meant as to keep packages in the archive. And
yeah,
so
we wouldn't do that.
that would blow up the side of the archive.
I feel like you would want to list every package because you might have something that's essential or build essential, like the compiler, that changes the applet. And you want to know.
But the problem is that if maintainers are not building the package in a chute, then it's a privacy issue.
Then they should
Send me to
stop.
Well, hold on. I mean, this is going to be in the changes file, right? And if you just build the source file, it won't show up anywhere.
But maintainers build binary packages on their personal machine.
Sure, but they should not be uploading it. We should be uploading the source.
So do we have to move to source-only packages before we can do that? Is that?
No, it's not a before thing. It's that if you don't want to leak information about what's in your machine, quit uploading packages that you built on your local machine and just upload the source. If you need to build the source file, build the source file.
If we're going to do the whole verification stuff, the developer needs to upload the changes file with the hashes of the devs.
But just the
And the build.
So I'm getting back to yeah, maybe not everybody. Some people were not at this talk, right? Yeah. So the idea, one of the end idea was that you would have the .deb in the changes file, but you would not upload the .deb because after the upload, a builder will pick the changes, start the rebuilding process, and if the resulting .deb matches what's in the changes file, then it can get accepted in the archive. So we have the expectation that not both has been compromised and that the package can be actually rebuilt. So if we want to do that, then we need to be right in what we capture as the dependent, like the build depends that were actually used.
Can we use the recursive dependencies of build essential and build defense? That would be less.
That's what build default does. So I believe that we can try that. That's the
And
only
then you
thing.
avoid
You are going to have problems where
hashes stuff.
that means doing weird downgrades on the build team, right?
Oh.
You might not even, might well fail.
Yeah, if the versions are different.
You should probably reject packages that were built using the old right? Like, why would you want that in the archive?
Vulnerabilities do not update is build essential on a purpose, which is, for example, useful if something in build essential breaks horribly. And if the abilities would automatically update like the package and it breaks, you can't build anything anymore. So you kind of not necessarily want to have the ability like minute up to date packages.
It's a specific script we're talking about. It's a thing that would take the packages, like the list of packages and version, and install them from snapshot.debian.org to reproduce the build environment.
So I think we're jumping ahead of ourselves if we think we're going to change the way that the archive itself is going to operate, like to not allow an upload to go through unless it is reproducible. I think the first thing is get the upload to be reproducible.
Yeah.
And okay, fine. The buildies may not have the same thing, and they may produce something different. But get the build to be reproducible, and don't worry about dealing with like setting it up as a gating factor for the archive. So I think that suggests that it's a list that ships either in the .changes file, or it's a separate file, or it's in the .deb.
So you mentioned snapshot. One thing that would reduce the size of the list is to start with a timestamp if we know that the build environment is up to date, and do by reference to snapshot.
Or you know what to date is.
Yeah.
No, the release file has a date.
No, what up to date means respective to the archive.
No. Yeah.
Because I mean, the different
Oh,
things
yeah.
are in for different architectures at different times, and
Let's worry about optimizations for the verification possibility.
So I'm trying to think what are the advantages of having a separate file, and it's hard for me to find. I don't know. I mean, if we want this to be working, we also need the build D. When they first pick the build for another architecture as the DD upload architecture, then it also needs to record the build environment for that architecture. You know. And so it feels to me that how packages get in the archive, it's always about change as well. So that's, I don't know, that feels like the most easiest way to me, because the other way is you do a source-only upload, and then you have a changes file that would not have these information.
It would be a differently named changes file because it's underscore source. It's
Yeah.
A64.
And it depends on multiple architectures in one changes file as well.
Yes.
So
Right.
that's, in that case, you might have multiple versions of different packages, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a separate file. That's the reason.
Relatedly, what about Arch all stuff? Architecture independent stuff?
They need to know what architecture they were built on.
Presumably.
So if you're building an Arch alt,
Do Arch
your
alt
changes file is still underscore.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
underscore
Whatever
is
you're working on.
yeah.
Okay.
Which is also, no, that's also interesting, because if you're doing
Should you be able to build the same thing across different
You
arches
should
for
be
Arch
able
alt?
to, but I have seen, I'm aware of, and have dim memories of
Yeah, text.
things where it
Yeah,
makes a
that's
binary
right.
format, which is fine, but the binary format is specified to be either a little endian or big endian,
Yeah.
and you detected it when you load the file, which one it came in on.
You get text.
I don't remember, maybe.
I think we fixed get text.
do we consider that as a bug from the point of view of reproducibility?
If it's an Arch all, yes.
Yeah, like Arch all packages should be reproducible.
Cross architectures.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff like memtest or something where it loads a Arch alt package that has binaries in it.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of
There's a lot of
providers
those.
want that.
Yeah. Just
But that's
I-
special
But
case.
again, that
Yeah,
might
just
be
a
the
special
last
case is
5%.
fine. I'm just saying, I'd want to see what the output of running this on the whole tree is for Arch all things and see if they're non-deterministic and in which ways they fail.
I would like to be slightly all the world of X and say, if it's not reproducible on different architectures, but the thing in the archive is a thing that builds on i386 or AMD64, that's okay. For now. In the future, we can fix that, but it shouldn't be considered preventing us from getting to the goal of reproducible builds.
If we can get that 64%
Yeah.
from this, that would be awesome.
Okay, so can we agree that it should be a separate file that is referenced in the changes, that is kept in the archive, and that contains the architecture in the file name, except for Arch all packages?
Does that separate file need to be signed?
It's referenced in the changes file is signed.
Okay.
Why not?
I know DKG said not to get ahead of ourselves and talk about the buildies, but the buildies only build packages for their particular architecture, and then how do binary independent packages get built?
Well,
Is it
the
one
plan
particular
is-
buildie that does it like EBS64 or something, or just the first?
Right, Arch independent ones are built by the developer right now, and
Oh.
this is one of the issues about
Being
moving to
changed.
source only builds, is that
more of this.
I haven't followed the whole conversation, but I wonder why that file isn't simply in the .deb, like in one of the
Because
files.
because when I have dpkg and dpkg-dev and dpkg-dbg and dpkg- then it will be duplicated.
The changelog is already duplicated, the copyright's already duplicated.
Yeah, that's more than enough to do.
Is it useful to have it in the delivered package on the system as opposed to just?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Oh, there's a problem.
No, it's useful if you were fetching the source code.
Yeah.
Right? It's not useful if you've got it on your
Okay.
system. It's useful when you're
And-
fetching the source code. So it should ship with the source code
No.
if you're going to ship it.
I know why.
But
Yeah,
it's specific.
the reason why you should not be in the .deb is because there's no reason that for me to fetch the .deb while I'm trying to actually reproduce it.
Yeah.
Because
Otherwise,
it saves me
you're gonna
downloads
confuse yourself.
and bandwidth.
That
Because
can only be bad.
And conversely,
Yeah, but-
now you're changing the .deb by putting some
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's metadata about the deb, kind of.
Okay.
Cool.
Separate file.
You just separate file.
So basically, I believe the plan for that would be tech th build info
Chuck it as a separate
Uh,
file.
So it's going to be,
Dot build info.
and move it to dpkg as a batch to dpkg and create the file at build.
so it's going to be hello underscore
2.9
whatever, what did I have? up here?
2.9 dash 1.
3.12 dash 1 underscore AMD64 dot build info.
Why not?
Is there anything else we need to encode in it? No?
And is that signed by the developer who initially uploaded it?
Problem is,
As part of the dot changes file.
problem is here
It's
that
referenced in the change, like if checks
Dot changes
change.
hash.
Oh,
Okay,
exactly.
so
Okay.
it will check some,
That's good.
the changes file will have a checksum of that element, which is
Exactly.
problem here is you have multiple builders and they may have skew in the build info. Like
They will.
different versions of GCC but it still may be reproducible.
That's fine. Is
Okay.
that a
Is that
problem
too
with
much?
Yeah, that's what. No, I think one file and you reproduce the environment of that file.
I mean,
The,
it's
the
like
archive gets one copy.
Yeah,
And it came from
exactly.
some build bin. That's the one.
At some point in
Archive
time,
gets
it's
one
some
copy from the developer
packages
initially,
in there, but-
Right, and then each build gives the archive one.
and there's
So we're
build-
aiming for the
and-
ability to match what the developer did, and the developer might then be skewed from the developer.
I'm not even talking about
That's
matching the
what-
developer, I'm talking about the abilities that the developer didn't have. So if you want to reproduce, you need to be able to say, does this match the how it was built on PowerPC? And that needs to be available so that you can pull that and reinstall the same package on PowerPC.
Just make sure I understand, this is per binary package?
It's per source package per architecture.
First source build.
For Bill.
So hypothetically,
Well, yeah.
you could have, I think it's technically possible to run it, to have the AMD64 build the first two ARC-dependent packages, and then in a separate build run, build the second two. I don't think it doesn't actually do that, but
Okay, so like, it's a source package that builds 4 binaries.
yeah.
And Alice builds binary 1 and 2, and Bob builds binary 3 and 4, and the archive wants to mix those two.
I think there's nothing in the machinery that stops it at the moment, and so
Well, we shouldn't do that.
I'm fine with that answer. I just wanted to say that.
You're saying?
There's no.
Work to do.
Isn't it possible this type of thing?
Sure, it's possible.
If there's an arch all binary package with an arch something else in the same source, I mean, those could be.
Well, ArchAll, yes.
I see, right. But you can, yeah, okay, so you can at the moment, I do build the Arch independent, only the, I will upload only the Arch independent binaries from Linux. And so what would the building for that be?
Do we
Underscore Paul. So maybe we need to have a dash underscore in depth and underscore R.
Why not instead of AMD?
No, this is
all.
This
No, on
doesn't.
top of that.
Hold on. This doesn't reference the. This refers to where it was built, not
Yeah.
not the fact that it's an
And there'll be
AMD64
two,
package.
and there'll be two builds. There'll be one build on
One with
on AMD64 off the independent,
Right.
packages, and then we know then the M64 of the M64 as the.
That seems like that would already be a problem for changes
Because
files.
of build depends
No.
versus build depends independent.
Because my changes file is always called multi-job changes.
And even if it's not FTP master, now you can what's the name of the changes, but you can upload the exactly
Yes.
same name changes files
But
multiple times.
we want to keep the changes files forever now. We're not doing that right now. And so if we have changes files that collide on names, that's already a problem.
Then, if you have a separate file, there's no reason to keep the changes file indefinitely. Apart from doing the signature, maybe, but we don't need that for binary packages right now, so why would we need it for the build-in form?
So potentially, if you're doing a build that includes the independent packages, then you maybe have something underscore all build info. I said if you're building both Arch10 and independent, you get two build info files.
So they need to have different names if you want it to be.
Can we just put a timestamp here?
I don't want to get rid of that.
It would, no, it would be not all. Oh.
So this is the idea that I think I'm hearing, and maybe I'm not getting it. But when you do a build, you are producing some architecture independent packages, and then some architecture dependent packages. And say I just do a build locally and I build both of those, then these two files will be identical, right? And then the archive is going to take the architecture independent packages from one or the other of the builds that come through, and they will take that underscore all.build info and ship it out. Yeah.
You said from the buildee or from the developer?
I don't care which one they choose. They're going to choose one.
Great.
And then the architecture independent packages.
They're not independent rebuild the Arch independent packages are your big build.
So then they won't be present in the stuff uploaded by the buildee.
That's present, right.
But I'm saying this. I'm saying this.
And in
not build
future,
info
there will be one build team will be nominated to do that.
So
You can have the same category problem with the developer. Wait, I think it's true. You can have the same category problem with the developer. Just removes one out of the two, let's say, binary packages you uploaded.
Don't do that. Seriously, like we don't need to worry about that case. I really think we just developers shouldn't be doing that.
I would suggest the name to be underscore maybe. But maybe that's not that.
Well, that's really confusing because like any everywhere else means every dependent architecture.
If you want to call it in-depth, that might be okay.
Just make it a star.
Yeah, but the problem is that so we're calling it, the problem is that we're not cross compilation.
Cross compilation. You know what?
Oh, that's fine.
No, that's okay. That's the destination. Okay.
Yeah, let's not try to do cross compilation right now.
The build information should include the architecture.
Right. The content of this file should include the host architecture, as well as the target architecture.
And maybe
It's hosted build.
It should include the architecture of each package that is recorded.
Yeah. It actually does right now. I think the build info does. The DH build info we call the. I should check. Cool.
I want to toss one other thing onto this topic and then move off it, which is the reason I suggested this is just that I think it's actually cleaner if there's one build info file per deb. That's really my point.
Per deb?
Per binary deb, yeah.
Why?
But the thing is, the environment isn't per deb, it's per build. It's per time you build.
Sure. I guess I'm just saying there are real promises about the relationship between builds and devs, and I'm also fine with control D.
But it doesn't. How would you interpret multiple build infos?
One per dev. I don't understand.
Well, I want.
It's going to be the same build info for all of the devs that are built at one time.
The question is whether you're trying to reproduce builds or whether you're trying to reproduce devs.
Well, I'm assuming builds.
If you reproduce builds, you reproduce that.
Yeah.
So, I have a plausible, I think, interpretation of where you're going with this, which is we're getting build info files from somewhere. We need to be able to download them. They need to be tracked by the archive. They need to be re-signed by the archive because we're not relying on changes files for this. So we need some sort of system like the packages file for build info files. So you might have a build info style file that has each deb, and then has like a stanza for each deb, and then the name of the associated build info for it.
But given a deb, you know what
Yes.
its source code is.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? It came, hello tools comes from the hello source
Yes.
file. And so you figure out what the source file is, and that's the build info that you fetch. And it just has the information about what was used for the build. That's it.
When I am a client of this, so I'm not DAC, I'm a client,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
want to reproduce the build on my desktop for my own assurance that the build archive is doing something, and I download the build info file, how do I do that?
You need to download the source anyways.
Okay.
So you're going to the source stanza in your releases.
And so that fetches the DSC, the origin.pz,
Sure.
And the build info.
the min.target and the build info. Which all goes with the source. These are all source specific.
Oh, it's in the
things.
DSC?
No,
No, it
it's
can't
not.
be.
They're changing.
So what is the mechanism whereby
DAC.
All kinds of stuff.
No.
Magic DAC.
magic DAC, that's,
So wait.
Well, I'm not hearing your question.
if I'm running the apt-get source, how does apt-get source know where to literally download, like what HTTP URL to download the build info file from?
Because it doesn't know which deb you want to try and reproduce.
Right. It just really has to download. It almost doesn't even know what architecture I'm on.
It knows the architecture that you're on, so it's going to guess that.
Okay.
Just like apt-get download fetches the version for the architecture that you're on. And then if the package has some architecture independent debs, it will also fetch the _all.
Is it verifying any signatures or cryptographic hashes when it downloads the build info?
Via the apt archive chain, right? There's a tree in apt.
So in the
Now-
sources-
No, only for debs.
in the sources
Also-
file, you
No, for
Also for the
DSCs.
sources.
But that's new.
You're talking about learning.
But it's neither
the source.
It's neither a deb nor a DSC. Is there some file that
No,
Something
the
neat.
apt archive contains a bunch of this information, and if it doesn't contain it, for what we need,
modify
then we'll make sure that,
Okay.
that it gets into
Well,
it.
so maybe my initial idea, which was make the dot changes the pivot thing, that actually you get and call the pbuilder -reproduce thing on. Maybe it needs to be this build info. Maybe we need to make sure that all the info is in this build info, and maybe we need to make this build info signed in that case. Because what I was thinking, but when I said, we take the dot changes file, is that dot changes were already signed.
But if this is referenced by the changes file,
Well,
Is
the
it
changes
just-
file is-
I as a client can't get to the changes file, or should I?
right now.
oh, I see what you're saying.
right now, yeah.
But if we are going to change that to add the recovery file, even I didn't know that actually you could upload changes file with multiple times the same name, and that's a kind of form that actually I'd rather not open because that's breaking things. So let's make something new. Maybe that's a better path.
So we could stick the signature in the build info, but it seems to me like if there is a dot changes file associated with every built package in the archive, then those dot changes files should be.
The source package
Well,
is still
wait.
signed, and you want to kind of also check what the archive does. Maybe if you're doing reproducing builds, yeah.
Also, one other reason is sponsoring. I hadn't followed that before, but now it's clear. Sponsoring. When you sponsor a package, what you sign is the dot changes file.
Yeah.
But I want to verify the signature of the actual developer and not the sponsor.
I mean, if you're getting the deb, you verify the signature of the archive. So that's what I was saying. One answer is the archive signs some metadata for all of the build infos. You don't know which developer signed.
Yeah, sure. That's why I say we include either as detached signature or inline signature in the build info. The signature that is of the developer that actually builds the thing.
But if the dot changes files are being shipped,
the dot changes file might be signed by a sponsor and not by the developer.
but in that case, then the build info came from the sponsor.
No, that's what I'm saying.
What? Wait. You sponsor packages, somebody just mails you a .deb and you...
No, you can reproduce them, that's all I
Yeah, you rebuild it.
No, but if I'm sponsoring a package,
Yeah.
I look at the source code and I
Then
build
I
it and I
build it.
upload the thing that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
built.
I
I'm not
rebuild
going
it.
to take an arbitrary set of code.
Yeah, but if
somebody's
it's
just looking at the source code.
No, I want to make sure that.
Yeah, well, we don't know if it is.
I rebuilt it, yeah, I did that.
You rebuild it.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't think I want it. I don't want the build info to be signed by the person whose binaries are not being uploaded.
But if it's reproducible, then you are. This is a bit wise saying.
Well,
Whether you
not
build
there
it.
yet.
If they were
If
not
like
theirs.
that, no.
What's that?
You'd still upload yours and not theirs, even if it is reproducible.
Right, exactly.
Right.
No. If
Yeah.
it's exactly the same build info, you can just replace the signature.
Yeah.
If it's the same deb, it doesn't matter. If it's not the same deb, you want the one that goes in the archive. Therefore, you should be using the build info from the person who did the final upload, not from the originator. Does that logic hold?
That's logical, but it assumes that the best practice is to rebuild what you sponsor.
Yes.
One of the great,
Which doesn't
wait,
necessarily.
say that again. One of the
Don't do that.
So one of the amazing things that I've seen with the Tor browser being reproducible is that we take a machine that we have nil trust on it, we build the fucking Tor browser, which takes ages to build. It generates a gigabyte of archives for all architectures. It's super long to upload to the actual server. And then it doesn't matter because I can take my own laptop, which is on broadband, cell phone on a train, because I only have to upload one file to the server to make it true, which is a signature of the SHA-256 file. It's the only file I have to upload. So I'm actually arguing that I shouldn't have to, as a sponsor, maybe I shouldn't have to upload the .deb file at all.
We are going forward, we're trying to get to binary less uploads.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see your point.
So
I don't see why that changes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to rebuild, the point is that you don't need to rebuild the .deb.
Well,
Yeah, in that case,
you always do it.
You do
before.
because you need to make sure if you're sponsoring a package that that thing builds in a clean environment because the person you're sponsoring the package for may not have built it in a clean environment, for example.
But I believe the signature on the build info should be from the person that actually made the first build. But maybe it's a maybe we should not here. I don't know.
I think if the debs are identical, does it matter?
Well, it tells you who. Well, that's one thing. I mean, right now it's super hard to know. We don't have that information right now in the archive. Who built the package?
But so here's a plausible scenario I might see, which is if the archive is better at minimizing the build info or getting more sane, more reproducible build info. So the thing is that the build info might vary while the deb doesn't. And there's some build info that might be more reproducible because it's cleanly from snapshot as opposed to some packages upgraded, some packages not. And maybe the resulting debs for both of these are identical. I would want to prefer the one that is more standardized because that's easier for a third party to reproduce.
So, but again, this is once the rest of the archive is already there,
Okay.
right?
Let's move on.
So let's not.
Yes, sir.
Let's get to the 65% or whatever.
I have a combination question about DH. Clean this stuff up to remove the date stamp.
Can we address that later?
Okay.
Let's try to get the environment, settled.
So I don't think we need the build info to be signed. I still have not heard an argument for why the build info on its own needs to be signed, given that the .changes files are going to be present.
Well, that's my thing. I'm saying let's not make the .changes present. Let's keep exactly that working as it is right now. And so we are missing a piece of information, and that's the
But DAC is not going to redistribute these that build info files without a change either, right?
No, but the fact that right now there is no without changes file, there's no naming scheme that is mandatory, I think is a painful thing to handle.
Oh, because of the multi. So you won't necessarily know which .changes to get because it could be underscore M64 .changes or it could be underscore multi .changes.
Or you could reuse the same changes file name, and you can't have both of those changes files in the archive because they have the same name.
Yes.
There's no way to make an apt archive that contains two files with exactly the same name.
No, but the .changes file has the arch on it.
No, but I could reuse the entire name because I could do the same upload for the arch twice. Same upload, same arch twice. And the archive should.
But the archive's only taking packages from one of those uploads, so it's only going to produce one.
But the changes file for the Arch independent packages also has the build Arch in them. So it actually is happening that you have two changes files with exactly the same name. One that contains the Arch independent packages and one that contains the Arch dependent packages.
Okay.
Yeah, so the names are thrown away at the moment, I think. So we have reads them in and then produces. Well, it doesn't start with changes files anyway.
So
Does.
if we're talking about what DAC needs to reproduce,
Yeah.
right, then the stuff that comes from the buildings that built the Arch-dependent packages, regularized names, yes? And the stuff that comes from the original uploader will have whatever wacky name the original uploader wanted to put on it. And that's where the Arch-independent packages are going, info is going to come from.
Totally. But I believe it's just cleaner to view the .changes file as a transactional thing.
Yeah.
It's a transaction with the entry, and it should maybe stay that way. A transact with the archive. Yeah, I'm going to change use is transactional. And the buildings for are something that stays until the package gets removed.
I agree with you in principle that such a system would be nicer, but I think that given that there are other group splitters who want to do certain things with changes files, it's going to be harder to build a stable, reproducible build system on the assumption that changes file follows certain rules than it is on the assumption that build info files follow certain rules, and therefore we should prefer the easier option if there are no clear downsides.
Okay.
I think that's roughly your argument.
Okay. I buy that. Thanks.
So signature on the building.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we would be able to trust that thing, right?
I have a hilarious joke that you don't really, because you get to build it, and then it'll track them will work or not, and that's your thing.
But it
So we no longer need to
to
ask DAC to not throw away the .changes file, right? That's a separate
Yes,
asset.
we do not need that for
Okay,
the
so
reproducible
DAC needs
build
to-
thing.
DAC needs to distribute.
Wow. I love you people, I feel we're making progress.
We are.
To avoid changing semantics of.
And so, I mean, the build info becomes part of the list of charges in the .changes file.
Okay, didn't sound like we resolved who signs the building file.
Whoever does the build.
That's uploaded.
What's that?
Yeah,
Redistributed. Right? It goes with. Cool.
So we know how we're replacing the environment, the hardest part from the test we had so far.
One thing I worry is that we might discover something else that is part of the environment that we don't know now needs to be recorded as part of the
Stuff that
environment.
is the building code. It needs to be an extensible
Right,
format.
that's what I'm getting at. So we need to define the build info format so that you can extend things, and for packages that don't care about the extension or reproducible without the extension, you don't break the tools.
Could you, do you want us to look at the build info, what the build info produces right now?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some file on your file.
I have a
Do you
file
have?
on my files.
No, sorry. Do you have locate?
What?
Do you have locate?
Probably not. What are you looking for?
A build info. They are in USR.
Next to the change logs.
I called build info something or architectures.
So.
Yeah, all Haskell packages have that.
I believe
Essential.
That's not super machinable, I would say.
That
it doesn't contain
Check.
architecture.
Essential
The file
packages
has architecture.
closure.
Is any machine?
I don't think so.
So then it doesn't. So
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what's that? Okay.
Changes form, same as
Yeah.
changes file.
Yeah.
But
So what's the data?
packages and versions.
Packages, essential packages closure. Build essential package or closure. declared arch-indep build dependencies, arch-dependent build dependencies.
So it's
and
missing
that's it.
the architecture of the. No, you can have. I can do my build with A386 and AMDC 64.
It's missing the architecture of the build environment.
Yeah.
Those packages.
Yeah,
So
it's in the list.
it should say column dash E386 or.
Is the
Data.
AMD64 one to those?
Yeah,
like
like
the GHC one.
Debian.
Haskell build dependencies.
Why?
libyaml. Perl?
0.
Oh, libyaml 0. So we're looking for what, a colon?
Different.
Yeah, it's good.
Right. So what is that specifically then? We need
Part of dpkg build package.
build info needs to record
Yeah.
host. Is that right?
Yeah.
The architecture of multi-arch packages.
Hosts architecture of the tool chain.
Of every package is mentioned as well.
Yeah.
We can record kernel version if we want. Some people told me that they had varying behavior. I mean,
You
I'm
can
not sure.
that because you can have, because obviously some configure scripts will try to detect the capabilities of the running kernel.
Features.
I'm saying this is a bug.
Yes.
It is a bug.
But if the package, captures that, but I believe it can help debugging if we know.
So
Kernel version.
If the format is extended,
We won't attempt to reproduce the kernel version, but it will be
but this is
advisable.
privacy information here.
Oh, the kernel version?
just is kernel minor enough? Like just 313 versus 311, is that enough?
You also need
No,
generic.
Headers, kernel headers.
There could be patches in a small revision that are bug fix patches.
Kernel version is privacy.
So I'd go
I'm not saying it's the worst
So I'd go
practice.
for both the release and version strings, yes, they're the two different things. So like uname -r-read.
I feel like you are likely to leak the kernel version other ways.
Let's just and then go back through and then argue about whether they're.
Okay.
So I know what gets captured, but maybe we don't want to capture this. I mean, there is like username gets captured.
Several of these will be in the result. That's the problem.
And those shouldn't be in the result.
But they should not be. The username.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Should not be in the result.
Yeah.
So we don't need that to build in, right?
Right. Same as the local.
Well, during debugging, when we're trying to figure this out, it may actually be useful to have these.
I thought we were enumerating all the things and then deciding.
Yeah, I know, but we're at home.
Enumerate.
So let's enumerate.
Let me make one more point, which is that if this is an extensible format, listing something here now and including it in build infos now does not commit us to including it in build infos forever. If we get to the point where the kernel version or the username no longer matters, we can stop including it in build infos.
Yeah.
We can also have it be a default that is not included, but people who are okay with including it can start including. My username is my email address, which is on the package. I don't care. Others might, but I don't care. So we should favor specifying the things we think are important and then come back and decide later.
You should always be building as evil or whatever.
SBuild
the username
uses
is
the
gonna be.
same username as default. SBuild uses my own username.
Okay.
That's
So what else?
So
Unix environment.
the time of the build.
Yeah.
AD.
What did you say? Unix environment?
Environment variables.
No.
Then it is reproducible.
There's code.
All of them? No.
Like CC seems relevant.
But what about like FC alternatives choices?
Oh, shit.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
No, yeah.
So you want to know what my editor is?
The actual SHA-252 of all the binaries involved in
A number of rootkits present.
Snapshot of Slack.
We're enumerating here. We can roll some
This running process is
It's a shadow.
Ports listening.
Last 5 emails sent.
Number of CPUs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are all the things that
CPU
configure asks
flags
for?
for that matter, like proc CPU info basically.
Oh, so actually CPU flags are going to affect the way, there's some like,
Well, this is,
so,
Wait,
Not something-
how do you deal with build?
CPU flags should be something that packages detect at runtime.
but in
It
practice,
It
No,
should,
it's not always
and a
the
lot of
case.
packages
But
are
it might also influence how the compiler chooses to optimize things.
Yeah, that's all.
and that
Yeah.
is stupid.
it needs, it.
Look, if you're looking for
Okay.
things that are stupid in the compiler,
It shouldn't be for Debian, that's
Well,
bug.
default
Yeah.
is built for
Our
generic.
compiler is
All
but
that's
the
true.
builds, the
package.
configure script might do that.
It depends on how stupid the package is.
There are definitely configuration scripts that do that.
Are true roots, all true roots going to have access to the CPU? They're not going to necessarily have.
Maybe
Most
they,
of-
I'm not,
most
if DH build info can't
In
get to the
fact.
data, then it won't include it.
Yeah.
Right, this is not a require, this is not a list of things to require, this is a list
Okay.
of fields that.
Yeah,
might
if
get
you
met.
don't know
I would-
if the GCC in the builder can get the CPU flags, then, you know.
So really what I would love here is we actually start with,
GDC needs to report CPU for
Let's just start with the
I would-
build info.
I would start with the packages and the host, the architecture of the host. And if we
once
need to
add
add
issues,
things,
we crank up the
that
data.
sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
Start build.
I want to think about the privacy thing the whole
We can see you
But
guys.
it's still, you know, we're looking for 60% or something for a start.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and the diagnosis that you did to break down the ones that weren't reproducible, some of those will suggest new things to add to the DH build info once we get into the whole archive. If we can get to the point where we've got 60% actually building reproducibly, and then we do some categorization, say, hey, this is a common feature, all right, throw some more data in the build info, so we'll run everything through again.
what's
This is
the
exciting.
8828.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we should go to an end because we're not productive after. So
Do we want to enumerate tasks?
that was my final thing, but
I have one possible thing to say, which I wanted to get a sense of what the implementation quality of scripts, etc., that are part of DH stand out non-reproducible things needs to have, and if I have some thoughts about it as a topic.
What, the quality of them are?
So what the properties?
You mean security wise?
No, like so. To be very concrete, these Java doc files have an HTML comment that has a timestamp in them. It seems to me that the best way for me to handle this would be to have a like Debian / reproducible cleanings file that says Java doc : and then a glob expression that refers to which files to process with the DH cleaning Java doc helper, and then the DH cleaning Java doc helper can be a relatively naive Perl script that knows that on line 5 there should always be this comment, assert there really is a comment, okay, cool, remove line 5, call it a day.
Is that
I think we can outsource that job to your packaging helper, and we don't need to specify that yet. And if your DH cleanup reproducibility -- with Java decides that it wants to specify this file, it's welcome to. If it doesn't need to,
Can you just match the timestamp
So-
string?
So we need to basically implement these on a plugin basis for each one of the possible.
But
Yeah.
I will still like to draw a line with this thing of the cleanup afterwards idea. Is that for the AR, one of the issue we had is that okay, scripts might rely on the timestamp during the build process, so we need to clean up afterwards because otherwise we fuck the build process. But come on, comments in HTML file, this is not going to fuck the build process, right?
yeah,
but it's
So
we
you're
spent 2 hours.
suggesting we should use libfake time
No,
for
for
us to get rid of.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying how. I think we should try to favor the fact that we do not get timestamp written and clean them up afterward.
Yeah,
I would say-
prefer determinism over.
I'm saying I spent 2 hours on that yesterday,
We
and
have
I'd
to
rather
start
really just remove it.
somewhere.
I actually think that we should write, if there's an obvious sed script to clean up a file, write the sed script and throw it into strip non-determinism, right?
And then later on.
Yeah, and now this DH strip non-determinism has a list of the things that we need to go past your upstream about. Hey, we really like to not list you in the wall of shame of all of the things that produce, non-deterministic builds. So fix it, and we'll drop you.
So the preference is always going to be fix the problem, or at least fix the problem in Debian.
But it should be cataloged.
If it needs to be temporarily fixed, we can do so via the script, and maybe there's some things that can be permanently fixed, like the AR thing. That's okay.
So, given equivalent effort, prefer the thing which produces deterministic behavior rather than cleaning up after it. Given limited time, do the thing which works, and then coordinate with upstreams to get the preferable outcome later.
Okay. That's a very good way to frame it.
Awesome. So, tasks.
Yeah, I think
Jar.
So should we go back and read through what some of the tasks are? So,
was Joey in the talk?
Sorry?
Was Joey Hess at the talk? I'm just thinking about.
So, Leonore, it seems like you might be furthest along on these patches that need to be submitted.
Yes, I can take care of DPKG patches.
So, is that okay?
Yeah,
Just like that? Did we make a decision about, we can't do that universally.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a decision point, we don't need to do anything else. So who wants to start DH strip non-determinism?
I could help too.
Wow.
I know a bit of Perl now.
So who's gonna pull, there's 4 volunteers.
Who's PM?
Yeah, exactly.
Put something there.
So repository-wise, we have a reproducible IOF project, and we can where the DPKG and the presentations and the MISC.
Is that okay?
So we can, we can do a developer and get a branch.
So,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, likewise.
So who wants to work with DH build info? Who's upstream for DH build info?
So he's a French, he's called Yann.
Okay, is he averse to changes?
Well,
if someone comes
we
in
don't
and
need
says,
to,
we're going to do
actually we're not going
some
to change the software. We're going to change DPKG. We're going to take the work he's done and put it in DPKG.
And eventually we might need his software.
We probably want to coordinate with this person if we're taking over their work and stuffing in a D package, and they're absolutely.
Yeah, we can. But I mean, so I actually pasted what our discussion.
Okay.
He told me he wanted to get it in DPKG.
Awesome.
Okay, so then.
But it sounds like it's hard to get things in DPKG. Can we use that?
Well,
Until we get it in.
we can get our. I mean, we can start by using a private branch, and we get.
Well, can we start by just updating DH build info?
No, because you need, if it's going to be a separate file that is along the .m, then it needs to be done by DPKG.
DH build info runs in the middle of the Debian rules process, and so it's not going to capture, it's not going to put the info in the right place.
What does package do? It runs at
Wait, why does, I mean, why does where you run in the build process determine like what your CPU flags are,
Yeah.
what your username is, and what your hosting is, and what packages you have installed?
Because the file needs to be written outside the build process.
But you run package dev from Debian rules. It also puts it outside the directory.
Is dpackage and changes run from Debian rules?
Yes.
I think that's package build.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is the shell script that DH build info runs can always be run at any time. It doesn't have to be called from Debian rules.
So it seems to me like we have ample experience with a recalcitrant depackage maintainer. We have a busy but happy to like collaborate DH build info maintainer. It sounds to me like the easiest thing to get to where we want to go is to get the changes we want into DH build info, and then use a a package that everybody can use in the main archive.
We can't start there because build info file, even if we generate it from DH build info, depackage gen changes, won't look at it. We still have to package depackage.
Well, sure. There's a depackage changes that need to be done to make the dot, to stuff the dot build info into the changes, right? That is a minimal set of changes compared to actually making it produce all of this information in dot build info.
Yeah, I'm thinking that since we're already packaged depackage, why not?
Okay, I mean, my impression was that every single patch is pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And if it's a patch that says, if this dot build info file is present, included in the dot changes, that sounds like one tooth pull. If it's with depackage, don't do all of this other extra shit, that sounds like a whole mouthful.
I have a question also. Is it not possible for these changes files to be generated by some process that's not depackaged?
Sorry, we're going.
Oh.
We're trying to finish.
So is it not possible for these to be generated by some? Well, yes.
Well, then. Okay. I would agree. I mean, I would RFC formats and all.
Yeah.
But if you'd rather, I mean, so it's not work that I'm going to tackle right now. So people prefer to be outside DBJD.
And who wants to take on talking to the DAC folks about?
Right. Wait. We don't know who's going to work on build info.
So.
However you will do it, who will work on build info, be it inside build info or depackage package?
There's two things, right? One thing is figuring out the generation of the .build info file and making sure that that works, and defining the file format in some way that makes sense. And the other thing is including those things in the .changes file.
That's trivial afterward. Sign it.
Someone volunteering to write the build info?
Or write build info thing and adding architecture.
Define a format and write a script that either extends or replaces DH build info to gather all of this data, or some of this data.
Can you just quickly look up what is the code base? Like what's the language for this?
I'm assuming it's
That was IFIC.
Perl.
Build essential.
Perl. That's it.
Not it.
I mean, it's like the code is right there, so it's like quite straightforward.
There were 4 people for the other.
Yeah. Can we take this on?
Because you know Perl.
Shit.
You don't have to take that.
I know a little bit.
I mean, maybe
I
we can, like, the first step would be to mail, and you're good at that, mail Johan to say, hey, Johan, the maintainer of DH build info, hey, do you want, we have the following new requirements, do you want to work on the code to do that?
I can send them out.
Oh, yes.
Someone sent me an email to remind me to do that.
So, rather than saying that you're going to make these changes, I'll say.
But isn't it just the first 2?
Yeah.
Well, the main change
For
is
now.
just make it machine readable, which
And
is not right
extensible,
now.
Right,
Yeah.
Machine readable and accessible.
So, mail, on the bot.
Yeah, I volunteered to do the mailing of that.
It's Johan.
Huh?
Why are you calling?
You asked for someone to volunteer to mail you a request. He won't.
I'll try to remember.
What do you want?
Email that other
If I don't.
No, I'm cool.
How did you do that?
Do what?
Was that just a paste one?
Yeah.
Let's have a meeting about
It's pretty useful.
But boy, I don't have that in my one yet.
So, this is awesome.
One other thing, so once we have the build info, there is this little script that,
What's the environment?
yeah.
I would be interested in doing that for SBuild. I don't know if that's the tool that people want to use here, so one that I'm designing with.
I believe that's
build is what the build is from.
That's the very good target.
Isn't there
You're
already a
volunteer
script
for
for
that?
this?
Sure.
Awesome. I'm sorry, what's your
Jeff
name?
T. You know about that? T.
Okay,
Isn't there already a script for that?
thank you.
There's a script that will take a list of package and version
Uh-huh.
and query snapshot and gives you the right snapshot URL to pull the
Okay.
package from.
He's just going to do it for S.
For just,
For export?
for
SBuild.
SBuild. I don't know if people want it for other tools, so I don't know anything about the folder.
Whatever tools make you happy to make it happen. It's like-
You can do that if you want to do other things.
Do we have a way of measuring our progress with all these things once each person has done these individual pieces, measuring what fraction of the tree is in a good shape now?
I think
We need a Gantt chart?
No,
So-
I'm asking how do
So
we
I-
know when to like rebuild the whole archive and
so. I actually kind of think that this framework is the framework that we need in order to get to the point where we can do the rebuilds.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
So if we're producing the build info and his changes to as build, take that and build and then just say it matches and it didn't or it didn't, and then we're like, okay, now we're one step closer, and then when you can do that for one package, and then okay, it matched, and we're like, oh, now
Yeah.
it's good for all of them.
And
Then we see
folks
which
like
ones-
Lucas who do archive-wide rebuilds, and if we can say, here's a set of tools, and if you do the archive-wide rebuild like with these tools, we'd love to see what you come up with.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
the AVID is actually
Yeah.
the one doing that.
Okay. So I think this is what we need to get that.
I still probably, I don't know, maybe not. Do you think it would be useful? So we kind of stopped because I told David, okay, the talk can happen now, so we don't have time. Do you think it would still be useful to do a rebuild with the build path fixed?
Yeah, I think.
I think that
Wait, how are we going to get the build path fixed?
I have a patch-wise build,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing. So it just like take what's in there, rebuild, take what's in there.
Do we need to be submitting that patch somewhere?
No.
Is that another to-do?
Well, it would be part of, no, it would be part of this. Well, yeah, maybe, but not.
Just send it to BTS.
It's where do we start for this thing, like for the
We start by documenting the steps that we have.
Yeah, the canonical path, like.
So if it's a wish list bug for SBuild, and say then just put it so that when people are looking at the SBuild BTS, they see that this feature is available if we want to do it. So I'm going to put that down as another one. Sorry, you wanted somebody to poke you about what are you doing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm sending the patch
so
for
submit
SBuild, but I need to test it
SBuild.
before.
Well, give it to Jeff to test.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Just do that.
Awesome. It's 5-line pages.
Great.
Submit it to BTS or submit it to Jeff T? What's the action on it? I think submit it to Jeff T.
Well, no, BTS.
Well,
It needs to be published someplace, and if it's bad, we'll get a new version. We'll publish it in the same place.
Publish the patch, don't tag it patch.
awesome.
Great.
Thanks.
And when we have done the initial rebuild, I believe we can also start having some continuous integration thing.
Yeah.
And have something in Tracker and,
Well, and frankly, if we can say 60% of Debian builds deterministically, then we could say, here is deterministic Debian. It doesn't have any of the rest of the shit.
Well, I won't have a kernel.
You'll notice that we have kernel.
You always tell me what changes to make, yeah?
I need there is a couple timestamps that are captured by the build process.
I heard Micron's
They've actually been getting rid of a
getting
lot of them. And the one that was in renamed FB, the version stream, that's not there.
So what I know is that some people started something called Mempo, and I really tried to talk to them for ages, explaining how Debian worked, what they like to when they were, and they had to
heard from them, but they never said, well, this is what you can change it to.
because
It wasn't
actually,
over here. There's our stuff if you want to.
Figure it out.
but they use defect time. They use they defect it all over the place. And
They don't have much faith in getting things into Debian at all, basically, because of the GRSec thing.
Oh,
whatever.
Okay, let's not
Just
end on that
delivering
note.
the
But
bad news.
what I'm saying is that the kernel is they kind of made some work, but it's probably going to have to be redone. But the K3BSD engineer made some work on making the K3BSD more reproducible.
I was told the one I uploaded earlier today should be reproducible. I don't know.
I have a question about time frame. Is there a particular time that people want to check in on each other, or?
Is everyone who's participating in this subscribed? I think
It's but you can, it's on the very top of the wiki page, which you also should subscribe to.
And so yes, so I will mail the list in a week or sometime after I go through my email backlog post.com and say, hey, you know, and actually before too long I'll post these notes someplace. I mean they'll be in the copy, but I'll put them someplace for a minute.
Okay, I will probably update the wiki page if no one listens to it at some point. There is on the wiki page there is a to-do list, so we can also add things now. But there is the rest of the wiki page should probably be changed to reflect what we decided.
People feel like this could be accomplished before next year.
The 60% one.
Sure. That would be great.
That would be great. Like good progress.
All right. The more we can see about how fast we're moving as we go, the better we can.
Yeah.
I think the momentum helps it move faster.
Yeah.
We can see that.
Yeah, and if
It's
we
like
can
positive
see 60%, you're like, ooh, I can nudge that
Totally
line
can.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just patch 2 more %.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the DH type Python deterministic right order of the depends, I believe it's like 80% of all Python packages. a bonus. So, yeah.
Is there anything left to do except to leave and go drink or play Roll?
I think that's it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Or have? Thank you for calling us.
Yeah. I'm sorry I was late. The sushi restaurant was like a half hour slower than the first time.
That's weird. Can we try to bring back the show in order?
Yeah.
That would be nice for your
No,
Yeah,
I maintain them with different
Set up rows again.
There are a couple of, there's like 1 or 2 packages I maintain for work.
Was it
I maintain
Islands?
or maintain for my university.